I'd like to call this meeting of the Coralville City Council, February 13th, 2018, to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Foster.
Present.
Gross. Here. Gill. Present. Dodds.
Present.
Goodrich.
Here.
Okay, all council members are present, as is the city administrator, city attorney, city clerk, and a sick-sounding mayor. But I'm really quite well, except for my throat. I don't feel bad at all, except I have a lousy throat. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Goodrich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Item 4 is citizen comments. This is the time on the agenda for anyone to speak about an item that's not already on the agenda. If so, please come up to the podium and sign in and speak to us, please.
Good evening. John Grieve with the Coralville Community Food Pantry. Just wanted to give you some numbers that we had for January. There were 697 visits, serving 615 adults and 495 children, 330 families. Total pounds this last month were 19,263. So thanks again for your support, and we continue to serve an important need in this community. Thank you.
As you're signing in, John, I just want to say, too, I wasn't able to attend, but I heard that the community meal was quite successful on Friday night.
Unfortunately,
as well.
I was not able to be there this time, but yes, I've heard the same, and
Okay.
thanks to all who helped out with that.
Good.
Thanks.
Perhaps some of the council members will mention that in their council time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the fiscal year 2019 budget, and it's a public hearing. And I'll open the public hearing, and Finance Director Tony Rotland will give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So at the last regularly scheduled council meeting, we went through a presentation that I'll go through again. I'll probably summarize a little more this time. Feel free to stop me if you think you have a question or would like to hear more, or think that someone at home watching might like to hear more as well. But for the fiscal year 2019 budget, that is for the year beginning July 1st of this year and going through June 30th, 2019. The highlights, goals, and challenges sort of transcend the particular year in terms of what we're doing, but the proposed property tax rate is unchanged at about $13.50 per thousand of taxable value. That's the 9th consecutive year. There's a proposed sewer rate to fund future citizen needs, and a proposed stormwater rate increase to continue to fund operations and projects in the stormwater arena. The goals are to pass a balanced budget, maintain the property tax rate, maintain sufficient fund balances, and provide high-quality public services. And the challenges are the same as for many businesses or households: generally rising costs and doing things at an economical cost and planning for future needs. Then we have a few slides on property taxation in Iowa. There are various classes of property, and they're taxed differently. There's a growth limitation imposed on each class to eliminate dramatic tax shifts between the classes. And that reduction or that limitation is implemented through something called the rollback. So the rollback is shown on this slide in FY18, the current year, and the coming year, fiscal 19, for each class of property. So you'll see that the residential rollback went down, meaning the value the tax rate is applied to goes down. The same for multi-residential. Ag went up, which won't affect the city nearly as much as counties. And commercial and industrial are the same. So a residential property assessed at $100,000, think of that as market value, would have a decrease due to the change in the rollback of $1,313 year over year. So it would go from about, excuse me, $56,900 in FY18 to $55,600 in FY19, all things equal. So then with an equal tax rate for the city's portion of that property owner's tax bill would decrease by $17.83. And for commercial property, there's no change because the rollback's the same. So again, everything equal, they would pay the same level of property tax to the city's portion. And then there was some commercial and industrial property tax reform enacted by the legislature in 2013. And this slide contains a summary of it. And the essence of it is that they changed the rollback so that there's less property tax to local governments from commercial and industrial properties, and they're backfilling that amount each year from the state's budget. And that's a standing appropriation. It's important because it does continue to fund things like police, fire, parks, recreation, debt service, employee benefits, and TIF funds used for economic development projects and economic development debt. So a little bit about the city's property tax levy. It's divided into 5 essential components: the general levy, a tort or insurance levy, public transit, trust and agency, and debt service. There are other categories provided for in Iowa law, but these are the ones that the city of Coralville utilizes. And there's a brief discussion on this slide of each of those levies. Some are limited as to the rate that they can be charged against taxable property. Some are limited as to the purpose the funds can be used for, and some are limited by both. Here's a comparison of the property tax rates for FY19 proposed and FY18 as implemented. You'll see they total the same amount. There's a little shifting in between the levies, but it's the same essential total tax bill for a taxpayer. So this slide shows a property taxpayer's total tax bill. If you take the FY19 proposed tax rate for the city of Coralville and plug it in to the current year actual tax rates for the other local governments, because they haven't necessarily set their tax rates yet. So it shows kind of the proportion of the city of Coralville in a total tax bill. And this is that same information in a pie chart form. So you can see that the city of Coralville and Iowa City Schools, and this is for a household within the Iowa City school footprint, would pay or would utilize 38 or 9% of the tax bill, and the county and other levies make up the difference. The general fund is the city's main operating fund, and we have listed here some of the various revenue sources: taxes, licenses, permits, use of money and property, so that's interest or rental revenues. Intergovernmental payments, when governments agree to make payments to each other for services or to share project costs or under grants, and borrowings, transfers, and charges for services like rec fees would be another example. So the general fund is projected to have about $27.5 million in revenue for FY19, which is a substantial increase from FY18, largely due to the mall TIF release. It's about a 19.8% increase. And that fund supports public safety, health and social service expenditures, culture and recreation, economic development, general government, and some other costs. So the next couple slides show the proportion of general fund revenues across the different types of revenue sources and expenditures across the various departments. So you'll see on the revenue side, property taxes and charges for services and other financing sources are the three largest sources of revenue. Departmental budgets, you might expect, to see park and rec and police, fire, public safety type expenditures at the top of the list, and that's where those are. And then a little bit about the mall TIF release. So large portions geographically and valuation-wise of the mall TIF release funds in FY19, which leads to a transfer from the special revenue fund for TIF to the general fund. And that's been a known event that was planned for in terms of the general fund planning for years and the TIF fund and debt repayment structure. So that's something that's been planned for and is now occurring after many years. There are a couple of special revenue funds at the city. One is the road use tax fund allocated to cities based on population. So we expect in FY19 about $2.3 million in revenues to that fund. And it's utilized for roadway maintenance, street lighting, traffic signaling, snow removal, street cleaning, and engineering. The city has a few enterprise funds. Those are business type funds. So we are not proposing a rate structure or a rate change in public transit, water, solid waste, or parking. But we are proposing a rate increase for the sewer enterprise, again, for the treatment plant improvements that will accommodate growth for the next few decades, and then a proposed rate increase for stormwater for operation and maintenance of the stormwater pump stations and for stormwater projects and improvements. So here's a slide that talks a little bit about those two proposed increases. One, it shows how the sewer rate increase is divided between the base monthly rate and the volume charge. So you'll see the current minimum goes from $11.15 to $12.50, and then the amount per additional 100 cubic feet after the first 200 cubic feet of metered water usage goes from $3.60 to $4. And then this is shown, the bar chart below, in terms of a 400 cubic feet of use per month household, which is sort of a standard 3-bedroom in our community. And so it shows the total change in monthly amounts. Regarding the stormwater rate change, there would not be a change in the rate for residential customers, but there would be for commercial customers through a change in the formula that utilizes something called an equivalent residential unit, utilizes square feet of impervious surface area to charge to different businesses based on their geographic footprint. And again, that would be used for operation and maintenance of stormwater pump stations and projects and improvements. Here's an overview of the enterprise funds in terms of revenues and expenditures or transfers out. In a couple of cases, we see that, and let me point out transit as an example near the bottom. We see that the expenditures or transfers are a little higher than the revenues coming in, and that's because there are reserve funds being utilized for some capital purchases there. So prior years set aside will provide those amounts. There are a few capital projects that will that will be partially or entirely funded in fiscal year 19. One of them is First Avenue improvements, the last section of First Avenue south of Interstate 80 that needs some improvements from 6th to 9th Street. Coral Ridge Avenue improvements north of Oakdale up to Forever Green. The water plant expansion, which is largely finished, but the final financing will be put in place. And the wastewater plant renovation and expansion, which will be starting during late this fiscal year and early the coming fiscal year. A little bit about timing. So tonight is the hearing on the budget. We would plan to adopt the budget on the 27th at the City Council meeting, and it'll be filed prior to March 15th with the state and the county. And there are some sources for additional information listed here, and as always, administrative staff can be contacted at City Hall with any questions that the public would have. And I'd like to, as always, say thank you in this budgeting process, getting to a proposal. The citizens, the city staff and employees, department heads, city administration, and the mayor and city council are all contributors, and their input and dedication are valued. And I could field any questions or provide information.
Just 1 second. I just wanted to just say thank you, Tony, for that great explanation and overview. You've always done a great job. I think you get better and better at this presentation every year that makes it more understandable to our citizens that are interested in it. So, of course, thank you for all the hard work putting into it, but especially right now, thanks for that presentation. So,
thank you.
Okay, feel free to introduce yourself.
I'm Scott Hendrickson. I live on Northridge Drive. I was just curious about, there's a couple capital projects that look like they're road projects. Do those get funded by the road use fund, or how are those funded?
A lot of those projects' costs are grant funded through, I think it's called an STP, through the process through the DOT. That's a lot of the funding on First Avenue. Some of the funding is our annual capital improvement plan borrowing that we repay through the debt service levy. Outside of major projects like that, your sort of annual filling of potholes and resurfacing of various blocks does get done with road use tax funds.
Yeah, I was asking, some people have told me that the gas tax and registration fees pay for all the road construction and stuff like that. Is that true, or does it come from other funds?
Some of it is for new construction, and a lot of it is for maintaining. Everything from snow plowing to patching potholes, that kind of thing as well. Putting up signals or maintaining them as well.
But after the gas tax was raised, we got a significant additional money into the city because of that decision.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out if vehicles actually pay all the cost for the roads and stuff like that.
The gas tax increase won't pay for that size of a project, but there are a lot of, when I say that size of a project, First Avenue from 6th to 9th, for example, but there are a lot of smaller projects that got done because of that increase that was passed 2 years ago, I think.
Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and staff, everyone here. Thanks for putting together the wonderful display budget. And I looked at this budget from 3 different platforms as provided by the city, which I don't know that all communities do that, but I take advantage of everything I can to kind of a budget gym rat, if you will. I guess you know that. I find something about our budget that I think is interesting is that we kind of figure out where we want to invest and where do we need to invest.
correct?
And
Can you
how much-
introduce yourself for the?
Excuse me?
I don't believe you introduced yourself.
Excuse me, I am Rex Brandstetter. I live at 2159 Lindcrest. I'm staying away from the mayor because of his voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Sorry about that. First time I've never introduced myself, for God's sakes. So what do I know? But we quantified where we not only want, but where we need to spend it. And I think that's extremely important that, and you all know that. I'm not telling anything you don't know. And the fact that you have to spend so much of your time working on the budget, that's part of the ball game. That's what we do, what you do. And I find this budget, from what I can tell, to be a tight, solid, well-planned, and true reflection of our needs. Now, all department heads, they can swing at me here, but all department heads have wants, and that's part of the deal. And they all have needs. And so somewhere in those negotiations, if you will, is a true functional budget. And we have that, in my opinion. We have a good, solid budget that's going to serve the people of the community. And that, of course, is your job. Now, the people see things. They see the roads, they see the fire trucks, they see the police, they see the refuse guys and the parks and recreation department. They see those things. So those are the things that, boy, they must be doing a good job down in City Hall, because I see the police everywhere, or they have a new fire truck or things like that. And by the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about the fire department down here. So those are the things that people see. What they don't see, what they don't know, and what they unfortunately don't ask are, how are things financed? And that's what we get down here. And so I get I get a lot of calls at my office about the city budget and things. People call and ask me these things, and I do my very best to answer them and try to refer them to City Hall. But when the answers I get, I can tell that I've satisfied some of their questions, because they don't have a clue. Well, if they search this information, it's here. You've laid it out for everyone to do that. So I just kind of be heads up that you're going to get the standard calls about First Avenue being busy, and how come they're doing this up on the Holiday Road area and things like that. That's part of your budget process, and that's part of managing people, which you're all going to do. I'm pretty real satisfied that for the 9th year, our millage rate is our take is stayed the same. And by the way, the state rollback did go down a little bit. I think that was kind of a surprise to a lot of people. And Tony mentions it is $17.50 roughly. That's $17.50 that stays with the taxpayer, versus $17 more out of your hide, which doesn't sound like much, but it's every little bit helps or hurts, however you might see that. So I really like that. In the past year now, I think there have been some milestones. Quite frankly, we might point out our great fire rating, and our fire rating is almost second to none for what we offer with the volunteer fire department and the teeny-weeny partially paid fire department. For my 20 years on the fire department, that ISO rating, that's a roughie. That's hard to get. If you never talk to your chief about what all is involved in that ISO rating, you should have a discussion with him. That just for openers, your first truck won't start, and your number one water supply water tower just fell down. Now what are you going to do? And you plan from there. And so that's really what they're up against. So a feather in the cap of the fire department and the community for supporting that. We've changed some personnel at the police department. We have a new canine officer. I mean, there have been some really nice things as part of what the community offers. So my hat is off for that. I might add that the trail systems on this community I walked a lot of them, and they're pretty cool. And so that brings a lot of amenities to all the homeowners and the real estate, not only real estate values, but real estate attractiveness. Because Coralville is a place in Johnson County and the state of Iowa that people want to live. And the fact that people want to live in a community is not always directed right to the taxability and the tax basis. It's directed towards amenities, and we have those amenities here, and I'm proud to say that that's a good deal. So thank you all for the time and efforts you put in down here. It shows. How's that sound? And I think that we're going to see in this next 1 to 3 to 5 years, and maybe even longer than that, We've got some really, really good capitalistic projects going on, and I think it's going to be a great time for the people of Coralville and the city of Coralville itself to show some really exciting growth. So thank you so much for all you do. Good evening.
Thank you, Rex. Are there any more comments? Well, I'll just remind the public that the vote on adoption of this budget will take place 2 weeks from tonight at our next regular council meeting. Any council comments before I close the public hearing? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. Item 6, First Avenue improvements, 6th Street to 8th to 9th Street. We'll start with Scott Larson, our Assistant City Engineer, giving us a bid report.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So back on January 17th, the Iowa DOT accepted bids on the First Avenue improvements from 6th Street to 9th Street. And we received 3 bids on the project, and I'm happy to report that the low bid from Langman Construction Incorporated was 4.19% below the engineer's estimate. Their bid came in at $7,186,554.84. We haven't actually worked with Langman for a number of years, but we are familiar with them. The biggest project I think they've done for Coralville as a prime contractor was the 1997 water system improvements that we did just ahead of the Coral Ridge Mall development. And they worked in about 7 different areas of town, and it was a successful project. But they do much more than water main work. They are a paving contractor. They're a large prime contractor. They have worked in multiple areas in eastern Iowa, most recently in North Liberty. And our consultant, Howard R. Green, has worked with them recently in Clinton and Cedar Rapids within the past year. So with that, before I make a recommendation, I just wanted to mention to everybody watching, listening, that probably more so than any year prior to this one, we really are encouraging folks to go to our website and sign up for construction and traffic updates. So if you go to coralville.org and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a notify me button. It looks like a paper airplane. And in that list of options, you can select construction and traffic updates, and you can choose to get email or text notices. So that will give you alerts. We plan to do weekly updates also, not only on this First Avenue project, but our big Coral Ridge Avenue project and trail projects, et cetera. So it's really important that not only Coralville residents do that, but we hope to have a lot of the metro area community sign up for those alerts as well. So with that, I do recommend the City of Coralville award the contract to Langman Construction Incorporated of Rock Island, Illinois, in the amount of $7,186,554.84.
Thank you, Scott. Will you briefly tell the timetable for this project?
Yes, absolutely. So with the action tonight, we will process the contract documents. We'll have a pre-construction meeting, hopefully within the next few weeks. And if weather improves like we sure hope it does in March, we would expect to see construction get underway in March and carry all the way through into mid to late November. Our goal is to have all of the new travel lanes open to traffic, all of the sidewalks, the new sidewalks open to traffic, pedestrians, and all the traffic signals and streetlights working before the end of this construction season. During construction, we will always have one lane in each direction on First Avenue. One of the things we like to highlight on this project is fairly early in the project, I think we say April or May, 6th Street, immediately west of First Avenue, will actually be closed completely. So that kind of cuts off a major connection to First Avenue that people are used to using. However, 5th Street will remain completely open. You'll be able to get onto First Avenue at the 5th Street signals, but we will get a lot of notification out early on that. So bulk of the construction will happen this year, and then next year, come spring, we really hope to be just focusing on final touch-up work, some landscaping and plantings. So it's the last piece.
Great.
So
Thank you, Scott. Don, the resolution?
Resolution accepting bids and awarding the construction contract for First Avenue Improvements Project, 6th Street to 9th Street, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Gill. Any discussion?
Just like to thank the staff and the engineering department. They've put a lot of time into this, and it's going to be a great project. Again, there are going to be delays, and it's going to be a rough time sometimes going through there. But again, go to the website, and we're going to have a great product when we're done. But with the summer construction coming up, it's going to be pretty hairy. So we're forewarning you.
And I would assume, too, residents could check social media networks as well, Facebook and Twitter.
Absolutely.
For
And
more
that's-
information.
That's a great way for them to communicate their concerns and comments right back to us, and we try to give them a quick turnaround as well.
Yeah, and the Nextdoor app, too, I would assume, would be
Absolutely.
another place where people could get traffic and construction.
Right, we are trying to make use of all of those, and even, we plan to update Google Maps. We plan to update Waze for those users that use the Waze app for commuting, so we'll try everything to get the word out.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich. Aye. Foster.
Aye.
Okay, resolution is approved, all ayes. Item C is also a resolution approving the contract and bond documents for this project.
Resolution approving the contract and bond documents for the First Avenue Improvements Project, 6th Street to 9th Street, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye.
Resolution passes, all ayes. Item 7 is Clear Creek Trail, Phases 6 and 7. Scott will also give us a bid report, and please describe the project.
Okay. I'll start with the description first. This is Clear Creek Trail Phases 6 and 7, and these two phases represent the last two pieces of trail network that we need to build out west to ultimately connect with the Clear Creek Trail system in Tiffin. So this specific project starts at our current west end of the Clear Creek Trail system, which stops just short of crossing Clear Creek, kind of southwest of where Lowe's is. And then we will cross over Clear Creek with a bridge and run out towards the Coralville Creekside Ballpark. That's kind of the midway point of the project. And from there, we turn north and cross underneath Interstate 80, and then head northwest and then cross underneath Interstate 380 and connect to the Tiffin Trail. And there are multiple interstate bridges that we have to cross under. So our project will be crossing under the bridges that are out there today. But of course, with the big 380 interchange reconstruction, all of those bridges get rebuilt. So we do hope to have our project done by the end of this construction season and open to the public, but we're just kind of giving people a heads up that it may be great that it opens, but a year or so later, we may end up having to close it due to the big interchange project. So we don't know the details, the dates, any real specifics yet, so just want to get that word out there. So anyway, also at the January 17th Iowa DOT letting, this project received 3 bids. The low bid on this project was from Iowa Bridge and Culvert from Washington, Iowa. Their bid came in at $1,758,552.84, which is 2.66% above the engineer's estimate. We do have extensive experience working with Iowa Bridge and Culvert over several decades. I touched on a couple of the projects in the memo here. They were a subcontractor on the 2013 Coleridge Avenue improvements. They did the Iowa Interstate Railroad viaduct over First Avenue back in 2001. And they did the 1996 Oakdale Boulevard Bridge over Muddy Creek out by Kate Wickham Elementary School. Again, schedule-wise, if I didn't touch on that, assuming the contract is awarded tonight and the documents are processed in the next couple of weeks, we would expect to see construction activity begin in March, weather permitting, and continue on into end of November, early December. So with that, I don't know if I already made the recommendation. I don't think I did. I recommend the City of Coralville award the contract to Iowa Bridge and Culvert LC of Washington, Iowa, in the amount of $1,758,552.84.
All right, thank you, Scott. Don, the resolution?
Resolution accepting bids and awarding the construction contract for the Clear Creek Trail Phases 6 and 7, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Foster. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item C is a resolution approving the contract and bond documents for this project.
Resolution approving the contract and bond documents for the Clear Creek Trail Phases 6 and 7, introduced for adoption by Councilmember, who do I have it? Excuse me, Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item 8 is a wastewater treatment plant improvements project, our major upcoming construction project improving our plant. And this is just a resolution setting the public hearing on the specifications, the plans, and the estimate of cost and the contracts for this project. This public hearing will be at our next council meeting on February 27th, 2018. So consider the resolution.
Resolution setting a public hearing on the plans, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for the wastewater treatment plant improvements 2017, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Roll call, or resolution is passed, all ayes.
Mayor, we will have a complete presentation by the consulting engineers during the public hearing, so people know all the improvements that will be made.
Great, look forward to it. Item 9 is the Iowa River Landing Construction Access Road. Well, let's introduce the resolution, and I'll ask Scott to describe this a little bit for us.
Resolution setting a public hearing on the plans, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for the Iowa River Landing Construction Access Road, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. He's quick. Scott, would you like to tell us a little about this project?
Sure, and I've put a graphic up on the screen that is also included in your agenda packet. The construction access road that we're talking about would connect from First Avenue right north of the Crandick Railroad crossing and swing east and north up into the Iowa River Landing towards East 9th Street with the primary purpose of serving as a construction access road for the Iowa Arena construction site, which is outlined in that figure on the screen there. As you probably know, there's a lot of grading work occurring south of East 7th Street related to the Latitude development. There's a lot of work that has to occur yet before the path here that's shown for the access road is clear and usable. We've been told that the goal for that work to be done is in second week, third week of March. So we are currently still developing a couple of options on this construction access road. One option may be to keep East 7th Street open and usable, and then build what you see as the north half of this construction access road north of East 7th Street, and then maybe eventually implement the south half. So we're still working on the details of that. We'll have more for you at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Again, this is a public hearing for the plans for this project. Will be at our next council meeting on February 27th. Any other council discussion or questions? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Okay, item 10 is our turf and horticulture contracts project. Parks and Rec Director Sherry Prout will start by giving us a bid report.
Thank you, Mayor. This turf and hort contract covers many of the streetscape areas within the city of Coralville, those including Highway 6, First Avenue, the Iowa River Landing, Coral Ridge Avenue, and the Oakdale Research Park, predominantly the large areas that are covered under this contract before I jump into numbers, I want to extend a big thank you to our Parks Division. Alex Bumeyer and his park staff spent a lot of time, as well as the engineering and stormwater staff for the city of Coralville. There's a lot into this project, and I also want to extend a thank you to our two bidders, Greg's Lawn and Landscape and Quality Care, who spent a lot of time getting these bids prepared, and I know that means a lot that they take that care to do that. A complete package of the bid specifications can be viewed at coralville.org/bids, and bid opportunities, as well as the bid results, and I'll cover the highlights here. We received 2 bids on Tuesday, January 9th from Greg's Lawn and Landscape and Quality Care. We broke these numbers down in many different ways. Some of that you could see those numbers in your packet. The prices for project areas for the contract for 2018, if we took those numbers as one lump sum, Greg's Lawn and Landscape bid was $385,650, and Quality Care was $426,066.45. This represented a 20% increase over where we were at for 2017. The new areas that were included in this bid round include our upcoming Coral Ridge Avenue, which will come online the summer of 19, our flood berm work, our increased areas in the CAM development, we have new development there, and all of our new stormwater practices for streetscapes. By breaking these bids down by low bid, much discussion amongst the staff on how we could work with 2 bidders and increase our inspections and develop more communication with two bidders, we felt we could do that. And by doing that, we were able to decrease the cost down to about an 8.5% increase over where we were at in 2017. And that looks like in 2018, we would award Greg's Lawn and Landscape a contract for $192,800 and a contract to Quality Care for $144,460.50 for a total of $337,260.51. So that reduced our cost by quite a bit. So our staff's recommendation is that we award the areas of Coral Ridge Avenue, Firefighters Memorial, General Roadside, Highway 6, and Town Center. And again, that work can be viewed in our bid packets. And the 2018 cost would be $192,800. The 2019 cost would be $228,373, and the 2020 cost would be $234,079. And then we would award to Quality Care the following areas of all of our flood berm work, the Ira River Landing common area maintenance work, which is predominantly north, it's all north of 9th Street. And then the area south of 9th Street to the river is what we call the Ira River Landing non-CAM area, Oakdale Research Park, and our Parks General. And those numbers are in 2018, $144,460.50. 2019, $149,478.26, and 2020, $152,766.79. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have a question. So I'm trying to figure out what on these, when we're going from 18 to 19 to 20, what is accounting for the big chunks of increase?
So in 18 to 19, we jump Coral Ridge Avenue, which has an extensive amount of stormwater practices in it. So there's a lot of handwork in that particular contract. So that's where you'd see the most of the big increase from 18 to 19. 19 to 20 didn't have as big of an increase.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So like on Coral Ridge, turf and mowing, you went from 29.2 to 41.4. I'm just trying to figure out, like, if we're not expanding the area.
Yeah, we would be expanding
Okay.
the area because that would be the new work that's just occurring during this project that will need to be maintained.
Okay, thanks. Which then it wouldn't be for the next one, which is why it's a smaller increase.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Yep.
We've used both companies.
We have,
Yeah.
yes, we've worked, the last holder of this bid was Greg's Lawn and Landscape. They're here in the audience, and they've done a good job. Quality Care has also done a good job. They held the contract before that. We're very comfortable with both companies, have good relationships and good communication with both.
I think it'll be fine. Now, does Greg's mow north-south or east-west?
Diagonal.
And circular when it hits you as
Just want
well.
to know which one you are. Very good, thank you.
Well, let's consider the resolution, Don.
Resolution accepting bids and awarding a turf and horticultural contract to Greg's Lawn and Landscape, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye.
The resolution is approved, all ayes. Item C, Don?
Resolution accepting bids and awarding a turf and horticultural contract to Quality Care, Inc., introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind the council that the Iowa River Landing CAM portions is really a pass-through fee that the businesses along in the Iowa River Landing do pay for maintenance, both snow removal and for lawn care. And so that portion of the bids would be paid for by the actual businesses via the CAM.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Item 11, Iowa River Landing, Building G. The resolution, Don?
Resolution of support of the application of the Watts Development Group for funding via the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program and pledging city monies for the same, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodd, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? Do you want to just explain briefly what this change is?
Yeah, we're actually just reducing the number of units on this building from 51 to 30. If you remember, there are some units up towards the top that are for sale. So actually our contribution decreases by $1,000 per unit. So our city's contribution would be $38,000 instead of $51,000.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes, all ayes. Item 12 is the Iowa River Landing Retail Lease. Don?
Resolution of intent to dispose of an interest in real property and soliciting alternate proposals for the leasing of an approximate 1,460 square feet portion of the Iowa River Landing Part 2 condominiums to High Ground Cafe LLC. Is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion?
Yes, the High Ground was on a year-to-year lease, so this is a 5-year lease. So they made a commitment to stay down in the Iowa River Landing for five more years.
Okay, and any additional proposals are due by March 26th, and the public hearing on this lease extension would be on Tuesday, May 27th.
March 27th.
March 27th. Thank you. Any comments? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes, all ayes. Item 13 is a purchase agreement for some property in Iowa River Landing. Don?
Resolution approving a purchase agreement with James and Gloria Keeple for 832 Quarry Road, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by, Foster.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich.
You have flashbacks?
Yeah.
Discussion? Roll call.
Gross. Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 14 is amendment number 1 to consulting agreement that we have with Stafford Sports. That's our consultant on our arena project. Don?
I want you to know the reason Mitch's timely arrival threw my schedule off.
Anything I can do, Don?
Resolution approving amendment number 1 to that certain consulting services agreement with Stafford Sports LLC for the Iowa Arena and Sports Institute project is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? Roll call.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item 15 is a Brown Deer Golf Club management agreement. There's two resolutions here, renewing the services with our golf pro and our assistant golf professional. Don, the first one.
Resolution approving that certain management services agreement with Sean McCarty to serve as a golf professional at the Brown Deer Golf Course is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item B is a similar resolution.
Resolution approving that certain management services agreement with Brian Wernemont as serve as an assistant golf professional at the Brown Deer Golf Course, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 18, I'd consider a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or amended.
Move to approve the consent calendar, items A through double E inclusive.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Any discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved, all ayes. City Administrator report.
The only thing I have is just like to thank all those people that helped with the community meal last Friday evening, and then all those that attended, because that's always a great event, and appreciate all those people that have participated over the years.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Mayor's report. Well, in the interest of my voice, I'm going to pass tonight. Let Don speak for me.
That's a mistake. I'd have to tell you that I watched the last two proceedings on television from a client position, but what bothered me is things went so smoothly without me here, I thought I better get the hell back before it got to be a habit. Nothing else, Kevin?
I have nothing else. Thank you.
I think I was gone for the last meeting, and that I reflect the same concerns. Committee and council members report. Megan, we'll start down your end tonight.
Yeah, well, the community meal, I just want to reiterate the things that everybody has been saying. It was a tremendous success. I was there. It was fantastic. I believe last year at the winter community meal that we had at the rec center, there were about 150 people in attendance. This year, the attendance was 201. So we saw a really big jump. And like I said last month, I always am so happy and grateful to see a lot of people coming out to our community events and festivals. I think it's really important to be connected with our friends and neighbors. It really is what makes us a very strong community. And I also wanted to point out that since this is our first meeting in February, February is Black History Month. There is a lot of wonderful stuff happening out in the community to commemorate and celebrate. At the library, the Coralville Library, there's a lot going on, a lot of wonderful events. They have some great displays, some resources that are out there, a lot of activities going on. So I highly encourage everybody to check all of those events out. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch.
Well, first, welcome back, Don. We did notice your absence, so we're glad you're feeling a lot better. Yeah, we did have a library board meeting on last Wednesday, so I'll just give a little update. We did lose a library board member that moved to North Liberty. Better contextualize that. So I believe we'll be replacing her, and that was Lindsay Moen, who did an excellent job for us. Also at that meeting, Shana Magiranis was elected the new library board president. And in February, they are having a new thing. I was hoping Rex would stick around because I know he's a trivia fan. But there's a trivia night on February 22nd at 6 o'clock at the library. And also the big news on Friday, the Co-op Cafe opened at the library. And I believe the rumor is this week, if you buy a coffee or no, you get a free coffee if you buy a pastry or a cookie. So that's this week at the new Co-op Cafe opening. And I thought I was going to be a little late today for a meeting. It turned out I wasn't. But the reason why I went from one civic meeting at the school board to this one. And the reason why I was at the school board meeting was because of the contract negotiations that started with the Secretaries Union. And for those of you who don't know, in my day job, I'm the co-president of the Teachers Union. I just think it was an interesting moment for me learning I think we're all coming in this new territory with the new Chapter 20 bill and how this all is going to play out. And I think I'm hoping we can learn from the school board's district's I don't say mistake because they corrected it tonight, but it's just we got to make sure we're doing this the right way because there's just a lot of new territory with this new bill. And that's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Tom?
Welcome back, Don, and I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you.
Jill?
Yes, we missed you very much, Don, so I'm glad to see your smiling face.
I feel better already.
Good. I was under the weather last week, too, so sadly I was unable to go to the community meal, which just breaks my heart because the pantry is so dear to me. So I'm really happy to hear that there was such a good turnout. Other than that, happy Valentine's Day, and please be kind to each other.
Well put. Lori?
Welcome back, Don.
Thank you.
The Coralville Center for Performing Arts has opportunities for volunteers, and one is in set design and backstage help, and the other is, of course, always with ushering, and you can contact the CCPA, and they will put you to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Dodds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We're wonderful.